Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Today's guest is Xavier Tan. He's known as the Bee Man of Singapore. And welcome to the summit, Xavier.
Thank you for inviting me, Mitch.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your book. We met through a mutual friend, Sheelan, who's also one of our speakers and is a best-selling author like you. We're in the process of really pushing your book to top 10 status, which it will happen because of what we do. Now, I want to focus on getting into the content of your book. What was your passion behind this? Give us a little background about you, because we're most of the people that are attending this conference might be authors, or they're aspiring authors, or they're thinking about writing a book. Give us your story. Where did you come from? You worked in corporate at one time, didn't you?
Oh, yes. That was like 20 over years ago when I'm working in corporate. And what intrigued me to actually write this book is because I've been doing bee conservation in Singapore for more than 12 years. And through my journey of bee conservations in Singapore, I realized that there's very unique problem in Singapore, which unlike any other places. So some of them is because of the environmental and human fear because of the unknown. And we've been trying to get people to clear their mind, the misconception about bees. But I find that the best way to do it is to write a book and share with people about my journey, and so that people who read the books will have a better understanding of bees and willing to come and conserve the bee together with nutrients.
Well, it's not just understanding the bees, what it's done for you professionally and personally. Tell us about that. How do you feel about the fact that you've got a book that is in your passion, not just a hobby, but you're passionate about it, what it does for the environment? How do you feel now that you've checked that box?
Oh, that's very wonderful. Even though it's just a start, I'm gaining supports from people. Like even from the beginning, when I get people to help me to write testimony or to write forwards, and there are so many people is willing to do it because of knowing what I've been doing for the past few years. And I have very positive belief that this book will able to change something, at least in Singapore, on the bee conservation side.
And you've had connections you've met quite a few influential people because of your passion and what you do. And how did you make that possible for yourself?
So, all right. So some people that worth the mentions are people like some of the, our first lady presidents, Madam Halima, who have came to my garden to visit, and I let her experience about close encounter with bees. And I get invited by Temasek, which is the biggest fund manager in Singapore, governed by, backed up by the government. I'm not sure whether you know who Temasek is.
No, I don't.
Okay, it's one of the top 3, I think, in the world in terms of funding.
Oh,
yeah, in the world, not just Singapore. So
wow.
it's really, really great. It's called Temasek, and they actually invite me to build up a bee gardens in their rooftop in Orchard Road. So,
Wow.
and we get thousands of people coming to the garden and visit, and a lot of special guests to come from all over the world to visit the gardens to learn about what we have been doing in Singapore, the stewardship of Temasek in bee conservations.
Well, he's a big supporter of your efforts, it sounds like.
They are.
Wow. No, I haven't heard of them, but they're an investment firm, I presume. And
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, yeah, they invest a lot of things like the ants things. They have their own digital coin. Um, Basically a lot of things that they have invested in the whole world.
Well, great. And they're supporters of you. So your author journey, you were introduced to me. You had this passion. We were laid out a plan to get your book issued or published, written, published, and now it's on the marketing track of bestseller. And you, one of the things you followed, which was great, I'm referring to the power of finding the right person for a forward. Remember what I talked about, because to elevate this, who did you pick for your forward and why?
Oh, Christopher. He's actually a famous lawyer in Germany, and he's also a veteran in beekeeping. He's actually one of the chairmen in this Germany beekeeping associations, which I get to know him when he come over to Singapore to do a summit for the lawyer. And one of his interests is to go around to the world to visit other beekeepers. So he
Ah,
happened to found me from the website that I'm the only beekeeper in Singapore, and he requested to meet me, and I showed him around when he was in Singapore, especially getting to let him learn a little bit about our local native honeybee, which which is very rare in Germany. So we have a nice chat, and he's very supportive and knowing what I've been doing to conserve the bee. And he was very glad to actually help me to write the forward.
and the power of picking a forward of somebody of prominence, it would be my mistake. And this is what I learned from was my mistake. When I wrote my first book, I had a friend write it, and it was to help him. But you almost have to be selfish. I later learned a valuable lesson. You want somebody of influence to write your book that's in your field, that can elevate the exposure, expand the exposure of your hard-earned work. And you
Yes.
pick somebody in another country who's involved in your industry with credibility. You said he's a famous lawyer and
Mm.
a multi-year beekeeper. He's involved. He's of the association worldwide, which was a super smart move. And one of the tactics that I found through marketing, you want to have a big name association if you can, because that can make a big difference in total sales and then products. Because we talked about what's next for Xavier after writing this first book, and I'm leading into the answer I want to hear about.
Right. So the next thing is that because the book will actually starts people's arouse their interest in bees. And the next thing that people will probably would like to learn about is how can they also keep a colony of bees? So I did write a little bit about that in this book that I just written. And I'm preparing a course on beekeeping specifically in Singapore because of the dense environment. Even though they are green, we have about 40% the land is covered with greenery, and we are very supportive, in very good M Park, a national park, people that actually help to, put in plans to support the biodiversity. So we can tag on those resources and get more people to conserve the bee and reduce the number of people engaging pest control to exterminate bees.
Well, give us a story. I want to hear about a story of what happens when people see a beehive. Like, I can go back to when I had one in my home when I lived in Los Angeles. I
Mhm.
freaked out because I had dogs and I was worried
Yes.
about my dogs. And I
Mhm.
called a pest control. I gave the guy, I don't know how much money it was. and he came with all the outfit, and he knocked it down and put it into a sack. I remember a
Right.
big like burlap sack to cover it so they couldn't fly away. And I don't know what he did with the beehive after, but it was big. It was probably 2 feet tall, and
Right.
scared me, scared my wife, my then wife. It scared my dogs. You know, they're looking at it and it's buzzing around. But I think you changed my perspective. They won't bother you if you don't bother them. Is that true?
That's correct. Yeah. So bee don't really bother us. In fact, they actually contribute uh our to our benefits in terms of pollinations and food supply. And but the thing is, in Singapore, uh it's so dense and people are so lack of the understanding of nature. So most of the people are afraid of bee, just like you,
Uh-huh.
before you learn, before we met. So people, the first reaction is because of fear. They will engage someone to quickly get rid of them. Doesn't matter whether it's killing them or it's doing a humane way of removing them. So you want to educate people that, you know, even there's fear, maybe some people have a concern on public safety, but it does not deserve to keep, I mean, the bee does not to die because of the fear. And we can do something else to manage the situations in a safe and humane way. And we not just by saying, but we actually do it daily, helping people to humanely removing bees, get rid of the risk, and but at the same time saving the bees and give them a new home in a pre-setting garden, so that we have very little impact to the environment, and keeping people at ease. So that is something that we do, and it's also part of the book that I have written.
Well, that's great. Now I have a question. Is there a book two in you?
Yes, I'm writing now the second books, which is called The Secret of the Sting. So one of the key things, people are worried or scared about bees because they sting, right? But so we're going to go in depth about this book, about why the bee will sting us and what happened if they sting us, what happened to us and what happened to the bee, and how can we prevent it. And then it will link to the first book, where how we can actually live, coexist with the bees in harmony without sting.
And that's good because one of the things that I talk about is the importance. And I just got off an interview with Ken Honda, who has
Mhm.
sold almost 10 million copies of his books. And
Wow.
what he took away, he's written over 200 books and or been or co-authored, but he's written himself about 120 books. And he
Mhm.
said, and I took notes because I want to grow up and be like him, how successful he is with 10 million books, is he said, you have to think of a series. You have to think
Mhm.
of 3 books, not one, three
Mhm.
books, and then you can turn it into a business. Then it's a great lead generator for courses. It's a great lead generator for conferences. It's a great lead generator for engaging and separating yourself from everybody else. All these things I knew, but it was really cemented with someone of his magnitude and success. I mean, he sold one of his courses, he said, because of just one. He sold one course. He didn't get into all the numbers, but he sold it for $2,000 and 20,000 people bought it.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money. I don't know if
Yes.
you're good at math, but $20,000 US times 2,000, what is that? That's a big number, isn't it?
400,000. Is it?
No, that's 4
Yeah.
million.
Million. Yeah, that's 4 million.
$4 million. That's enough to buy Kobe beef every day for the rest of your life. They have the best beef in the world. But that
Yeah.
was a tremendous, and he's got others. He didn't get into all of it, but it creates other income streams. Like you have
Right.
potential to put on seminars and teach others how to become beekeepers like yourself. And that's what a book does. It credentializes you to become more well known and profitable. And what is it then for people who are listening to you you have a gift for them. I think you said you're going to give away the first chapter to the book to them.
Yes. The
Okay.
first chapter. Yeah.
And then there'll be a link to invest if they're interested in your book, which I am. I think it's a great, well-written book. Got nice stories of what goes into this. And Xavier, that's what we'll have. Well, we're going to open it up for Q&A at this point. And Xavier, it's been great to have you here, and thank you for sharing with us your journey on Guardian of the Hive, the whisper of the bee.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to MitchCarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.